Many people find themselves hitting a ceiling the moment they start to succeed. You might land a promotion only to start missing deadlines, or enter a healthy relationship and immediately trigger a conflict. This self-sabotage often signals a preference for a misery that feels familiar over in success that feels unknown. This reaction stems from a biological mechanism called the comfort cage. The human brain evolved to prioritize stability, viewing a shift in personal identity as a threat to your physical safety. When you attempt to change your life, the amygdala interprets the deviation from your normal self as a potential exile from the tribe. It triggers a system-wide red alert, treating the change in your social standing as a life-or-death crisis. Feeling like a fraud is a predictable survival response. Your biology is simply following a script that values safety and social belonging over individual growth. Escaping this cage requires a specific psychological definition of the ego. It is a constructed avatar, a persona built over time to navigate the world. Labels like shy, bad at math, or a victim of the past function as defensive costumes. You likely adopted these roles during childhood to secure validation or avoid conflict in early environments. The problem arises when you mistake yourself for the mask. When you identify as the costume, you exhaust your energy defending an illusion against insults or perceived failures. Feeding this avatar with safety and validation prevents you from pursuing deeper goals. To evolve, this persona must undergo a psychological death. Historical warrior cultures used specific rituals to bypass this psychological trap. The samurai of Japan centered their philosophy on the intentional practice of mental death. Each morning, they would visualize their own physical demise by fire, drowning, or battle. They aimed to start their day as men who had already lost everything. This practice, known as Sutenari, or throwing away one's life, was intended to silence the watcher. By completely removing the deep fear of what might happen to them, they reached a state of no mind, where only pure action remained. Treating oneself as already dead can reduce hesitation. Without a self-image to protect, the warrior remains focused entirely on the task at hand. Modern application of this principle involves starving the ego of its primary fuel, pride. This is done through intentional exposure to social discomfort. The Stoic philosopher Cato practiced this by wearing mismatched, brightly colored tunics in public. He used the resulting mockery to train himself to be indifferent to the judgment of the crowd. You can replicate this by intentionally asking a stupid question in a meeting or lying on the floor of a crowded shop for 10 seconds. The entire goal here is to trigger a real physical sensation of shame and observe it without immediately retreating. Enduring these moments demonstrates to your brain that your social image can be damaged without physical harm. This builds a tolerance for rejection, making you less susceptible to the pressure of public opinion. The second protocol involves identifying and dismantling the internal stories that sustain your current identity. An identity audit requires writing down every sentence you use to describe yourself. These are often outdated agreements you made with your younger self, rather than fixed traits. You can weaken these agreements with the 7-day rule of silence. For 1 week, you are prohibited from retelling any story regarding your past problems or personal traumas. Memories exist as physical traces in your neurons. By refusing to narrate the old story, you stop reinforcing the neurological patterns that keep that version of yourself alive. Dismantling your old identity often leads to a period of emptiness. You may experience a flat, neutral mood as you lose the familiar scripts that once dictated your behavior. This phase is a point of vulnerability. There is a strong impulse to quickly adopt a new label or seek out distractions to mask the discomfort of being no one. Allowing yourself to exist in this blank state is a requirement for change. Staying in the void prevents you from simply rebuilding the same limitations under a different name. Rebuilding your identity should be a matter of design. While a persona is necessary to function in society, it can be constructed to serve your specific goals. This is a strategic ego, an identity that functions as a tool for a mission. It is a suit you put on to perform, rather than a skin you cannot remove. Successful performers often adopt aggressive alter egos to manage the pressures of a stage. They use these personas to channel the confidence required for the environment without letting it define their entire self. Similarly, soldiers often adopt a hardened, mission-oriented persona to endure the extremes of training. This identity provides the psychological structure needed to survive high-stress conditions. You are the architect of this new avatar. You can select the traits required for your dreams, acting through the mask while remaining the conscious observer behind it. Deconstructing the ego is a daily ritual. Because your brain naturally seeks the safety of the familiar, the old narratives will attempt to reassert themselves every morning. Start each day by viewing the person you were yesterday as a past version who has no claim on your current actions. This helps maintain the distinction between your history and your potential. Identify the single self-label that limits you most today. Whether it is the procrastinator or the victim, acknowledge that this role has served its purpose and can now be retired. Shedding the dead weight of a previous identity allows you to approach the present unburdened. By letting the old self die daily, you remain free to build what comes next. Drop a comment below with your thoughts, hit subscribe, and share this video to make sure you see the next installment.